really today is about showing up as we are. And we'll kind of use this mantra that I show up with my best, even if it isn't my best, or I show up as my best, even if it isn't my best. And what I mean by that is that that's what you can give today. That's what you can give today. So let's begin in child's pose. If you don't like child's pose, start seated or lying down. I'm going to snuggle into child's just in case you want to know about another little way that you might make your child's pose a little more comfy. If you happen to have any padding, you could always bring it under the knees. Maybe you choose to bring it behind the back of the heels. I quite like this option too. Sometimes snuggling something in there just to give you a little extra space. So we just settle down into the earth if you're choosing child's pose. I've got the knees wide and the big toes to touch. Can you hear the gentle swirl of the breath as it enters in and as it leaves? I show up as my best, even when I don't feel my best. Whatever unfolds from here on out, that is your best today. And then we'll slowly make our way up onto the hands and to the knees. Again, if you want any padding under the knees, either double up the mat or bring yourself in that extra towel. And we're into a very familiar pose, into that tabletop, a couple of cat-cows if you'd like to here. Conventionally, we drop the belly, lift the heart as we inhale, and then round the back body, looking to the navel as we exhale. If you're feeling like you want to still continue to breathe out through the mouth, you're really welcome to do that. Just noticing maybe what's happening in the neck, in the shoulders, in the wrists, in the back. If you want to snuggle into child's pose again, feel free to do that. Come back and join us in movement whenever you're ready. Let's come and meet in a neutral spine, crown of head to the sit bones there. And so basically we're trying to avoid kind of collapsing into the shoulders or collapsing into the mid-back there. See if you can create this lovely long line, crown of head to the sit bones. I'm going to bring my knees just a fraction closer together than my hips. And then start to reach the right toes back behind you. Tuck the toes as though you're trying to press that right heel into the earth. So you do shift the weight back a little bit. Your shoulders might come a little bit behind the wrists there. It's as though that right heel could lengthen all the way down to the earth. And then we'll start to shift the weight slightly forwards so that you're back to neutral on top of the wrist with the shoulders. And then start to hover that right heel. And then start to bend through the right knee. I'm just going to move away from my wall because I'm going to need a little bit more space there. And then start to lift your right hip and the right knee out to the side. So you notice that right glute start to switch on. Could you pause here for one more breath? And then we'll take that knee through a journey of circles. Draw the knee forwards, down through the center, all the way back up. I'm keeping the right leg bent as I do this. I then lift the right hip, drawing it out to the side. Draw the knee forwards. You drop the right hip as you draw the knee through center and back. Let's do that 2 more times. Lifting that right hip. The glute is working as you lift the right hip. And drawing it back. I'm going for 1 more. Lift that hip. Drawing it forwards, lower the hip. And then as you extend the right leg back, draw it over towards the left side and then snuggle the right knee behind the left. I want to walk the hands a little bit more towards the left side, so left hand might come off of your mat. And then as you walk the hands back, your left knee, the top knee, will start to lift. Don't think you have to drop the hips down to the ground. Mine are not going to go there, but I'm seeing if I can let my torso rest on top of that left thigh. Maybe you'll drop down onto the forearms, let your head drop here. So my hips have not touched the ground. That front knee, the left knee, is off the earth. And we sink the hips back, the belly, the heart down. One more breath. If you're feeling that your wrists need a little bit of a wiggle out, you might choose to do that here. And then we'll come back towards the front. So you rock the weight forwards, both knees touch down. Walk the hands back onto the mat, undo the right leg. You could touch the toes back behind you. Just set yourself up to the center of your mat. Lift the right knee and then draw that right foot through where your right hand was. So you're into a low lunge, left knee is to the earth here. You take your time to set up. We want right knee on top of that right heel. Maybe there's a little bit of extra padding underneath that left side under the knee there. And then when you feel comfy, you'll start to sweep the hands up and also lift the hips here. So instead of sinking all the way down into flexibility, let's use a little strength. Draw that left knee in, draw the right heel in towards the center here so that those legs feel strong. Shoulders drop away from the ears. If you want to, you might choose to bring the hands to the heart, or perhaps you're feeling quite comfy at bringing your hands behind the back of the head. For a moment, I'm going to lift the heart as I inhale. And then as I exhale, I'm actually pushing the hips further back and then rounding. If you're really unstable, please feel free to pause here or maybe slowly in your own time lift up. I'm going to see if I can do that with breath now. My right knee comes a little more forwards, but not dropping too far as I open the heart, open the elbows, looking up, inhale. Hips draw even further back, straighter through the front leg as you round, exhale. So remember, if you're really wobbly, you could always choose to tuck the back toes. I'm moving with breath here for one more round. Perhaps hands to heart space is more useful. Exhale, rounding. And the hips are just slightly moving back and forth. This is my last time to round, and then I'm going to dive my hands forwards either side of that right foot. Tuck the left toes, hover the knee, and then lift the hips as high as you can. Take a little bounce off the back leg to gently step it up to the top of the mat. And forward fold, exhale. Let's take an extra breath in our forward fold here. The feet are at hip width, the knees are bent. Let the head, the shoulders melt. And then take a halfway lift, fingers to the shins. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Hands are going to rise up. Inhale. And hands to heart. Exhale. We've made our way to the top of the mat into mountain pose. Your choice how you might like to pause here. Eyes could be open or closed. For stability, you choose. Thumbs could be into the heart, or the arms could be dangling beside the body. Eyes could be open or closed, but we take this moment, this little opportunity to bask in the stillness, to be with the breath, sending in that compassion that we all need towards ourselves, or just a little grounding moment. I am here. Let's work through the other side when you're ready. So you might want a little softness in the knees as you reach up. Inhale, perhaps the gaze will lift. Exhale, hands towards the earth, forward fold. Taking a halfway lift, inhale. Now you choose how you might like to come through to downward dog. I'm going to take a high plank and then a low hover through chaturanga. You might take cat-cow. I'm choosing upward facing with the thighs hovering, but you might choose cobra with them lowered. And we meet in downward facing dog. From here, gently ripple forwards through to high plank and then drop the knees to the earth. Knees a little bit closer than the hips, hands directly underneath the shoulders. Neutralize the spine. And then extend the left toes back. So you're tucking the toes, you're shifting the weight back here, as though that left heel now starts to draw towards the earth. Just a nice, slow, progressive extension through the back of that left heel into the calf, maybe even working its way up into the back of the left knee. We shift the weight forwards, neutralize the spine, engage the core as you hover the left leg, and then bend the left knee as though you're pushing the foot up to the sky. We lift the left hip, stacking it on top of the right, and then just come to pause, left knee roughly aligned with the left hip, out towards the side. Feel engagement of that left glute, fire up. And then we take those circles. So there's about 4 of these. If you need to do less, you can. The left hip will lower and lift as you work through this. We're seeing if we can really activate through the glutes as you draw big circles with that left knee. We're working through active and passive movements in the body. Often when we can learn to activate the muscle and then finally find that passive hold at some point, we can feel a little deeper release. I'm going to extend the left leg back and then snuggle it behind the back of the right knee. So I drop the left knee to the earth over towards the right side. You might choose to now walk your hands over to the right side. Maybe your right hand comes off the mat. And then start to shift the hips back so your feet can be wide here. It's not that I'm attempting to drop my hips to the earth. The right knee starts to lift up off the ground. Your heart softens down, head is heavy. Maybe the forearms can touch the earth, maybe not. If you need to wiggle out through the wrists or the fingers at this point, feel free to move those a little bit here. And then we'll slowly peel our way forwards again, dropping right knee back down to the earth. Come back up onto the hands. If you need to now, shuffle again through to center. Extend the left leg back. Just set yourself up. You could always touch the toes down. And then we're trying to bring our left foot where our left hand roughly is. So you want to draw your way in round the back body and then lift the left hand to plant left foot. Set yourself up. So it could be that you take a little shuffle here, left knee roughly on top of left heel. You could always pad out through that right knee. When you're ready, the hands may rise. So instead of thinking, I'm going to go to full flexibility, it's actually a little stronger than that. We're thinking upward action, crown of head lifts. We're seeing if you can neutralize that spine. So there is this drawing of left sit bone towards the back of the left knee. You could always tuck the right toes if that makes you feel a little more stable. And if you're up for it, you're going to interlace the fingers behind the back of the head. As you inhale, maybe you'll take a little upward lifting of the heart. As you exhale, push the hips even further back. It's not a poker straight left leg, but we are straightening more through it as you round the spine. Maybe you're okay to work through this back and forth with breath. I'm moving the hips back just a few inches and then forwards again a few inches. I like to exhale, round and bow forwards, and then lift up as I inhale. The elbows may widen. Last time to come through to your curling forwards. Dive the hands forwards, either side of that left foot, and then we tuck the back toes, lift the hips. So you want to lift them really nice and high. Maybe you do a little bounce off the right foot to step it up to the top of the mat and melt forwards. Exhale. Take a halfway lift, inhale. Excuse me. Exhale to fold. The hands will rise up, inhale. And hands to heart space, exhale. Hands rise, inhale. To the earth we forward fold. Halfway lift. Your choice in how you might flow. I might do a different one myself. This time I'm going to choose a little cat-cow. You may choose a completely different route. I often offer my body, different ways to get there. And we're meeting in downward facing dog again. So this time, you could also do this with the knees or the knee to the ground. You're going to lift the right leg to the sky as you inhale. Go ahead and lift the right hip, kick the right heel into the buttock. I'm going to move away from the wall. I think I will touch it. Could you take a circle with that right knee? So we did this on the floor with the left knee to the ground, but can you draw that right knee out to the side, down through center? So notice how your right hip lifts and lowers as you do this. Do another one of those if you can. So you kick the right knee up, lift the right hip. See if you can activate through the glutes as you do this. You're trying to draw the biggest circle you can. Could you do one more? Lift the knee. This time, as you draw the knee forwards and centered, come right up onto the toes of that left foot. This time, round the back body. Can you find connection? Right knee towards that right face. Sorry. Your face towards your right knee. Look forwards. Place the right foot between the hands. You're into a high lunge when you're ready. So right knee is on top of that right heel. If you wanted to, you could do all of this with your hands to the waist or the heart. If you're up for interlacing fingers again behind the back of the skull there, take a little inhale, lift the heart. As you exhale, can you bend deep through the back knee? I'm not touching the earth, but I'm seeing if I can lower and round at the same time. Inhale, lift your way up. Now, if you wanted to, you could just pause somewhere. You don't have to keep moving. I'm going to go for 3 rounds. Exhale, concaving in through the ribs, rounding the back body, bend the back knee. Could you go for 1 more with me? Inhale, straightening more through the back leg as you lift the heart. And then exhale, round. Continue to dive the hands to the earth. You're into low lunge, so bend through the right knee. And then twisted low lunge, right hand lifts. Come and pause here. You may choose to drop the back knee if you're feeling a bit trembly there, or you just want a little extra support. Right shoulder is on top of that left shoulder. Maybe the gaze is up, maybe it's to the side of the earth. And then slowly lower right hand to the ground. Little bounce off the back foot to step up top of the mat. And now just let yourself gently melt. You may choose to gently sway a little bit here. Maybe nod through the head a little bit. We'll take a halfway lift when you're ready. Inhale. Exhale to fold. We're going to lift all the way up to stand so that we reset. Hands rise. Inhale. Hands to heart. Exhale. Upon your next inhalation, hands will begin to rise. Maybe blink the eyes open again. And to the earth, we forward fold. Halfway lifting the spine. Inhale. Your choice how you might flow from here. Could be high to low plank, could be a hop back. Everyone has their own unique way of moving. Your own needs here within your own body. So we'll be meeting in that downward facing dog when you're ready. So this time it'll be the left leg that rises. Inhale. Kick the heel to the buttock and then see if you can stack that left hip to the sky. We're going to take that left knee on a journey. So we draw the left knee wide and as high as you can, and then it comes through center. You might do this extra specially slow and you only do 1 round. I'm going to attempt to do 3. So I'm staying in that downward facing dog shape and I'm taking the biggest circles I can manage through that left knee. I want to be really mindful that I have the hips still in the sky. I want to be mindful that I'm not dumping the weight into my shoulders. And then I still have a little bit of core switched on. This will be my third time to draw the knee down and through center. I want to raise right up onto the tiptoes of that right foot and then snuggle face towards the left knee for a breath, tiger curl. Look forwards, place left foot between the hands. Take your time to set up into your crescent lunge. You want left knee roughly on top of that left heel. And we could do all of this with the back knee to the earth if preferred. So you may choose arms rising up. You may choose arms at heart or the hips. Perhaps now we start to interlace fingers behind the back of the skull. Open the heart, little hug into the lower ribs. As you do that, maybe the gaze is up. And then as you exhale, bend through the back leg, not quite touching, but round the back body. Face is lowering, elbows come closer. As you lift up, you straighten more through the back leg, open the elbows, maybe the gaze rises up. I'm going to go for 2 more. So moving with breath in your own time, perhaps. Doesn't have to be my rhythm. This will be my last time to curl and round forwards, and I'm going to dive the hands forwards towards the earth. And then I'm just going to take a moment to set up in a low lunge. So left knee stays on top of that left heel, right hand to the earth or block, left hand to the sky, twisted low lunge. This one we're pausing. You might choose to drop the back knee at this stage. That does not mean that you're cheating. It means that you're doing what your body needs. You are taking control of your own body. And then slowly looking down to the top of your mat. You want the hips to be quite high as you gently bounce off the back foot to step it up to the top of the mat. Forward fold as you exhale. Halfway lift as you inhale. Forward fold again as you exhale. The hands will rise up. Inhale. And hands to heart. Exhale. Take an extra couple of breaths here. Depending a little bit on how I move you around your mat. Slow flow doesn't always mean super easy. It means that we're taking things at a much steadier pace, so it means that maybe we can understand the information that's coming in a little easier. But moving slow and controlled can be just as hard as when we move the body fast. The great thing about a slow flow practice is that you've just got a little more time to think it through and maybe make a few of your own adjustments for your own body and energy level today. On your next inhale, reach the hands, blink open the eyes. Exhale, forward fold, hands to the earth. Take a halfway lift, fingers to the shins. And then step back through your vinyasa. So you may be, again, cat-cow. Perhaps you're even deciding, child's pose feels really great right about now. The main thing is that you're doing what your body is asking you to. And if you're up for moving together, come and meet in downward facing dog. So from downward dog, it'll be the right leg that lifts. Inhale. Again, we lift the right hip, stacking, draw the right heel into the buttock. Just for 1 round, draw that right knee wide as you can out to the side, then through center. Tuck the face in towards the knee, and then look forwards, place the foot between the hands. From here, twisted low lunge. So the right hand will lift up towards the sky. Inhale. Come to pause. You may choose to bring a block underneath that left hand if you choose. Maybe the right hand is to the hip instead. Sometimes I won't offer all of the different variations. Otherwise, I'll be just giving you hundreds of cues within every single pose. So over time, you learn to adapt what is required for your body to be able to be in a pose. If you have the hand low, you might reach it up as you inhale and gently tap the right hand to the earth. Come through to your high lunge again. Hands will rise. Inhale. Come to pause. Breathe. This time we're going to head towards a warrior two. So peel the left heel down and the right knee stacks on top of that right heel. We feel this expansion through the heart. And in our warrior, maybe you could imagine that you had this energy kind of sparking up to the fingertips. But there's also this settling energy through the shoulders and through the breath. We'll reverse the warrior for a breath, but we'll straighten through the front leg so it becomes reverse triangle pose. As you inhale, lean up and back, and then keep the front leg straight. Lift your way back up, inhale. Exhale into your regular Trikonasana triangle pose. I place the right hand just underneath that right knee. On the whole, that's a good level. We're seeing if we can keep left shoulder stacked on top of the right, left hip stacked on top of the right. How would it feel to head into a balance from here? So this is where having a block at the top of the mat could be helpful. We're going to go for half moon. I can't remember if I did this with you last week, but we're going to bring it back in. We're working with the half moons this week. So having the left hand onto your hip could be useful. Bend through the front leg a little bit, and it might be that you need to hop up a little way through that back foot. I'm just going to move away from the mirror that's at the top edge of my mat here. I'm starting to shift the weight into my right hand that could be on top of a block. And for stability, creating a little more surface area is really helpful. So bringing your right hand slightly diagonal out to the right side of your right toes could be helpful. Now, could we be really active with that leg in the sky? So we've been working on squeezing those glutes at the beginning in that three-legged. So could you see if you can actually continue to lift that left heel? So maybe keeping the left hand to the hip is useful. We're really powerful and strong in this one today. Maybe keeping the gaze down to the earth is what you need for stability. If you're super wobbly, it's okay. Bring both hands to the earth and maybe you take a variation of a warrior three. I'm going to hold for one more breath. And then we'll end up in a forward fold at the top of the mat. So gently lower hand and foot towards the ground. And if you had paid attention to me, I did not extend my left arm. I did not even attempt to turn my gaze. So it's really up to you, just what you need in that moment. For me, I knew that that was going to probably just throw me off balance today. And that's okay. I felt strong in what I did provide. So from the top of the mat, take a halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold. Hands will begin to rise up, inhale. Hands to heart, exhale. So we do have the other side to go. Make sure that if you do have props, they're out of the way, but somewhere nearby. Hands will rise, inhale. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift, your choice how you might flow. We'll be meeting in downward facing dog. Giving you a few moments to meet me there. Okay, so it'll be the left leg that rises. Inhale. We open that left hip, kick the heel to the buttock, twisting and stacking. Just for one round, draw that left knee as high as you can. Feel your left glute really switch on. as wide and slow as you can. Draw the knee through center and then keep the hips high, snuggle face in towards the knee. We place the foot in between the hands. We're actually taking a twisted low lunge here. So if you wanted to, you could always drop the back knee, bring a hand on a block if you want to. You do not have to turn the gaze. You might even choose to bring left hand on top of that left thigh instead to draw the left shoulder up and stack it on top of the right. Another thing to think about in this lunge position is where your sit bones are. Sometimes we kind of wiggle everything out towards the left side. Could you draw that left hip down and back? We'll tap the left fingers to the earth first, looking down, and then through to high lunge again. So if you need to hop with the feet a little bit for support, you can do that. So we'll meet in that high crescent lunge. Finding a steady breath. We end up in a warrior two again. So bringing the right heel down, opening up through the arms. Palms are facing down. And we attempt at some point, and it does depend a bit on our anatomy, but we attempt to at some point have our palms kind of floating on top of our feet. It may be that that is impossible right now, so don't overthink it, but we don't want the feet to be like really, really, really close. Is there any room for you to spread out a little bit more? If not, don't worry about it. So we'll reverse our triangle. You're going to straighten through the front leg as you flip and reverse, inhale. And then as you come forwards, Trikonasana, triangle pose. So don't think you have to go really low with that left hand. This is usually the most common thing that I see people do, is thinking, oh, we must touch the ground with that left hand. That automatically draws your right shoulder forwards and your right hip down as well. So in fact, we want to lift up a little bit higher and then see if you can do a little more stacking. Right shoulder on top of the left, right hip on top of the left. So you might remember where we're going here. We're heading towards our balance. I like to bring my right hand to the hip, bend through the front leg, maybe hop up and in with the back foot. You're grabbing a block if you've got one. And then start to balance onto that left foot. Could you think about trying to stack that right hip on top of the left? You want to try to be active through the glute, especially that right glute. That's when we think about maybe actively drawing that right heel even higher. So you notice that your adductors are also starting to work here. Spread out the weight across your standing foot. That's the left toes. Maybe you're here for one more breath. Could that right heel go any higher? And then gently forward fold. Let yourself melt. Perhaps a little gentle nod. So it may be that you'll need to use your hands to help you here, or you'll find a different way to get to the ground. What I'm going to do is bring my feet just a little bit wider than my hips. It might be that you need your toes to be slightly out here as well. We're going to start to squat down. Actually come through to a yogic squat if you can. Don't worry if the heels don't touch the ground, but just take a moment here if you can. I'm not making it perfect. I'm not trying to lift up too high. What I'm actually trying to do is see if I can lean my weight forwards through the legs here. And then as I start to reach my hands forwards, imagine that someone is starting to hold onto your wrists, and you're going to see if you can gently bob your bum to the ground. So you'll slowly boink to the earth. It may not be quite so slow. Could you come through to a little boat pose? Bring the hands behind the back of the knees if you can here. So if that's a little bit of a struggle, just bring the feet to the ground. See if you can hold on to the back of the legs, and maybe you're just touching the toes instead. Otherwise, see if you can have your feet roughly the same height as the knees. You'll see that I'm quite upright here. I'm not kind of really low. I see if I can be quite up with my heart, rolling the shoulders back and the elbows actually a little bit bent here. I kind of merge into one with my coloring that I'm wearing today. So if you feel like you could, perhaps you'll go for a little cross of the ankles, I'm going to start to reach my hands forwards and kick the heels in towards me. I'm going to press down with my feet as the outer blade and then press my hands down. Maybe your hips will lift a fraction off the ground and then drop your bum back down. Come back to a variation of your boat pose. We'll do this one more time. This time, if you feel like you could go there, maybe you'll think about extending the legs, maybe even flexing the feet. Or maybe you'd like to experiment with releasing the hands. You could have the legs bent or the legs straight. So there will always be one way that you automatically cross your ankles. Can you remember which way that was? Let's do the opposite. You cross the other way, outer blade of your feet, oh gosh, I don't even know now. Outer blade of your feet to the earth, little rock forwards. Could you press down into your palms, lift the hips, press down into the feet, and then drop the hips. This time, bring the feet out in front of you and then slowly melt your way towards the ground. And breathe. If you want a little windscreen wipe at the knees, you might choose to do that. I'm just shimmying to the center of my mat. You might need to do that too. Time for Savasana has crept up on us through our practice today. If there's anything else that you need or require to settle in here, feel free to do that. And then we head into our final pose of deep rest in towards Savasana. Lengthening of the breath, a wiggle here and there. Maybe a deep, nourishing stretch of the body as though waking up on a glorious morning. Slowly rolling to the side if you're still lying down. And then gently coming to meet me in a seated posture. Resting hands wherever they serve you. We take this moment to acknowledge the journey it took just to turn up today. The decisions, the scheduling. And we pause, acknowledging that we stayed. And that is all that we need to ask of ourselves. Thank you so much for joining in this week's practice. And perhaps you'd like to acknowledge one another with a bow. Thank you. I bow to you. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like it below, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon. Not only will this keep you up to date with my offerings, but will keep content like To The Being free and accessible to all.